Once again, I've provided a collection of sample files for you to follow along with this lesson. So we'll begin with site setup. I'm going to call this site Digital Family Flash. You'll find this in your project files in Part 2, Lesson 5, Digital Family Flash. Don't worry about the Images folder. We're going to be working with multimedia files in this lesson. And the first thing I want you to do is to create a new file, just a plain blank HTML file, and save it into that local root folder. And I want you to call this one Turtle Game. As I showed you in Lesson 1, you can create an entire website in Flash, or you can add Flash files to a website that's not entirely made in Flash. Either way, Dreamweaver features some great tools for inserting Flash files. So let's start by inserting a Flash file into this page. And while we're at it, let's make sure we have a title in here. Turtle Game. To insert a Flash file, you first put your cursor where you want the Flash file on the page. Since this is a blank page, I'm just going to start in the top left. But if you had created a div or a table or any other layout element, you could insert the Flash file into any part of that layout. The easiest way to insert a Flash file is to use the Common Insert menu, click on the Flash icon, and choose Flash. You'll notice I have a Flash folder here in your sample lessons, and I actually have 2 games here, so you can try this yourself if you want with the second one. I'm going to insert Turtle Puzzle first. Much like you would with an image, you want to include some accessibility attributes. And if you want to include an access key or tab options, you can give people key commands for moving around your files. When you insert a Flash file, Dreamweaver just displays it with the Flash icon, so you won't immediately see the contents of the Flash file. But you do get a special preview option when you work in Dreamweaver. So with the Flash file selected, you'll see the Properties Inspector changes to a variety of options for working with Flash, and one of them is this Play button. When I click on Play, Dreamweaver displays the Flash file just like a browser would. If this were an animation, it would start to actually play at this point, but this is a game. So now I can click on the Start button, and you see that it's actually a puzzle, and you can click and drag the pieces into the puzzle area to reconstruct the puzzle. Flash enables you to create some wonderfully interactive features, like this game, but it's a lot more complicated to create Flash files like this than to create basic HTML pages. If you want to play around with this game, I'll tell you it does include a preview button to help you figure out where these pieces go. And if you use the space bar, you can actually change the direction of them to fit them into place. If you close the preview, you can go back to trying to do it on your own. I figure this game is good for killing at least 2 or 3 minutes, unless you're really good at puzzles. But my goal here is really to teach you how to insert a Flash file, not to play this silly little game. So let's look at the Flash properties. Here at the bottom of the screen, you see there's a place for a name for your Flash file. You may have noticed that almost every element you can insert into an HTML page, whether it's an image, a table, or a Flash file, has a place for a name. I'm going to call this one Turtle. Again, you can call it anything you want as long as you don't use spaces or special characters. Anytime you're working with multimedia, whether it's audio, video, or Flash, you're going to have the option to loop or not loop, and that simply means to play the file continuously, meaning that when it gets to the end of playing, it starts over again at the beginning. Again, if this were an animation or a video file, that would make more sense. Because this is a game that requires a user's interaction, loop doesn't really matter in this case. But I would still leave autoplay selected because that's what will ensure that the Flash file starts as soon as the page is loaded. If you didn't want the file to play as soon as the page was loaded, you would uncheck autoplay. So these are both optional when you're using Flash, but autoplay is what ensures that the Flash file is started as soon as it appears on the page. H-space and V-space work with flash files much like images. If you add a little H-space here, you'll add a little bit of space to each side of the file. Now, Dreamweaver can't keep playing this file as I change these settings, so as soon as I added that, it stopped the play feature. V-space adds space to the top and bottom. In general, you'll be better off creating CSS styles than using V-space or H-space, because then you can add space to any or all of the sides, not just to the top and bottom or left and right. The quality settings are designed to give you some choice about how your Flash file plays based on the bandwidth of your users. If you know that your visitors have very slow connections to the internet, you might choose low here, but you'll be sacrificing quality. Your Flash file won't play as well. If you choose high, you'll get the highest quality, but you'll also use the most bandwidth. The scaling options let you account for the fact that depending on the size of the monitor, the Flash file may scale larger or smaller, and you can control whether it's forced to exactly fit in the space allowed or to have a border no matter how big the browser is. Alignment again works much like it does with images, and again you'll generally be better off using a class style than setting the alignment options. Play, as we've seen, allows you to display the Flash file within Dreamweaver, and the parameters dialog lets you further refine how that Flash file will play. Autoplay and loop are actually parameters, but they're such common parameters that Dreamweaver included those in the Properties Inspector. If you do a search at adobe.com for parameters for Flash files in Dreamweaver, you'll find more advanced instructions and additional parameters you can set to control the display of your Flash file. Similarly, if you're using audio or video files, you'll find a collection of parameters that control how those files play based on the file type. So for example, if you're using QuickTime, you'll find one set of parameters that's different than if you're using Windows Media for video.